tried out 2 of the rungs on the ladder for the would-be Formula 1 driver, Formula Ford and Formula Vauxhall Lotus. He's now been trying out Formula 3 and Formula 3000. In fact, the Formula 3 car he's tested is in this race driven by Paul Warwick, brother of the Formula 1 driver, of course, Derek Warwick.
A Formula 3 car is built to Grand Prix specification. There's a carbon composite monocoque and the very latest in suspension fashions. At the front, there's virtually no movement at all, almost solid. While at the rear, again, minimal travel. Engines can be based on any 2-litre production block, and Toyota, Nissan, Honda, Alfa Romeo, Saab, and here, with Eddie Jordan Racing's Reynard 883, an 8-valve Volkswagen unit supplying the power. All engines are limited by this 24mm air intake restrictor, which holds the power down to around 170 horsepower compared to the 160 of the Vauxhall Lotus cars.
The air restrictor effectively holding the engine down to a maximum of 6,200 revs before it just runs out of puff, and only 10 horsepower more than Vauxhall Lotus. It's incredible that these Formula 3 cars go some 3 seconds a lap faster. Almost all of this is down to the sophistication of the chassis and how well the young driver can not only drive the car, but tune the chassis to suit the circuit. A wrong decision on suspension settings can mean the driver's half a second off the pace and about 20th on the grid. He's got to set the car up so that he can drive the circuit almost as if he was on rails, sliding, using corrective lock, really loses time. You need to string the throttle, or as if it was a switch, it's just got to be full open or shut off under braking.
Formula 3 virtually completes a driver's training, and exceptional talent such as Ayrton Senna can leap straight into Grand Prix racing. But for the rest, the next best thing is this, Formula 3000. Here, a March 88B from last year's championship-winning team Onyx Race Engineering. It's virtually a Grand Prix car in terms of chassis and engine design. There's 3-litre racing engines, in this case a derivative of the famous Cosworth DFE. But the regulations say that all cars must have carried a vice like this. This limits the speed of the engine to around 9,000 revs, and in so doing keeps the horsepower down to around 450 bhp. Now that's 2.5 times the power of a Formula 3 car, but still 150 horsepower short of the modern 3.5-litre Grand Prix racing engines. So what's it like to handle this power? Well, that was me trying to talk you around Snetterton, but the noise of the engine proved too much. I'm now wearing earplugs, but that doesn't help our sound recording. Apart from the noise, the big difference in Formula 3000 is the power. The throttle is no longer a switch. With that amount of power underneath your foot, it's easier to get the car sliding sideways. Out onto the straight, every half inch of movement of my right foot delivers another 100 horsepower to the rear wheels. Everything's happening so much quicker, the straights are shorter, and with that extra downforce and wider tyres, both braking and cornering forces are that much increased. As with Formula 3, the chassis is very sophisticated. There's no suspension travel at the front, and as we turn into the bomb hole, the inside front wheel is lifted off the ground over the dip. Round Corham, we're doing 150 miles an hour in 4th gear, and the G-force really builds up, pushing your head outwards, straining your neck muscles. Down into Russell, the flick left and right, and the body pounding continues. It may look all very easy looking over my right shoulder, but if I could push your armchair around as much as the car's shaking me up, you'd better appreciate the effort required to drive a modern-day racing car. From Riches to Sear, hardly a straight, dropping 4th straight down to 2nd gear, and here working hard all the time to keep the car pointing in the right direction and on the racetrack. Up to 3rd, up to 4th, up to 5th. A brief respite here on the straight when we check the instruments, check the temperature gauges, and check our mirrors for any cars behind. Braking hard for the S's, dropping from 5th to 4th, from 3rd to 2nd. A clip of the curb here jolts my head, and our onboard camera pictures may not be perfect, but really the impression given is exactly as you have in the racing car. Vision is slightly blurred by the speed you're going at. Round Corham in 4th gear here, the rev counter rising from 8,000 to 8.5, and just there flicking as it hits the rev limiter. Next time I'll take 5th gear before I go into Russell corner, go through that corner in 5th gear, my lap times will be dropping. Here now we start another lap, and really Formula 3000, very fast, very exciting, and very exhausting, let alone trying to talk at the same time.
Recognition draws huge crowds.